who knows, I'm maybe it's completely wrong about this, I don't know, but it does make you think our body is incredible. It's incredibly intelligent, and it's always trying to tell us what is right, what is wrong, and what is normal. So it has a baseline that it tries to keep us to. So look at all these actors, and they have a new role, and you've probably seen people like Christian Bale who will lose a ton of weight, and then the next movie he'll put a ton of weight back on, and then a couple of weeks later he's lost all the weight again. It's almost like it's temporary weight gain, temporary weight loss. And I can understand how that can happen, because if normally his baseline is very lean or normal, and then he gets told, you know what, to earn your millions of dollars you have to put on 30 pounds in weight, and he eats loads of pasta and ice cream and, you know, plenty of unhealthy foods to bulk up and put plenty of weight on. It's not his normal baseline. So when he then stops eating those excess calories and goes back to his normal way of doing things, eventually his body's going to go, but you know what, that was just a temporary blip. Maybe it was, you know, feeling unwell, or, you know, maybe there was a period of famine coming up and I needed to put this extra weight on just to keep me going. And then his body just gets rid of it. Now, I can understand that, because obviously his body's able to go from his baseline, it's able to change, adapt and overcome, and then realise that things have gone back to normal again. Weight comes off. Now, with myself, I spent, well, from 20 years old, I started putting weight on and listening to the wrong advice of people. It started off really when I was probably about 19 years old, and obviously going to the pub and drinking beers with my friends and having 2 doner kebabs and chips every night and thinking that was good. And because I was very lean, I was very underweight compared to my friends who were much more portly and, you know, which I thought was much more manly and stuff. And there was an emphasis to try and get bigger. I also looked like this skinny little runt of the gang of lads I was around. So I used to overeat, and used to overeat on a regular basis. Drank too many lagers, and as we know, lager doesn't really have anything we need. And eventually I did start putting weight on, you know, quite gradually. But you imagine now I'm trying to get rid of that fat, which I've had for, say, 28 years. A lot of that fat I've had for decades. So it's not going to go dead quickly. It's going to take months and months of consistent, not so much dieting, but consistently eating well. I mean, if I was to allow a month for every year that I'd put the weight on for, that'd be at least 20 months, going towards probably 30 months to get rid of all that historic fat that I've built up around my body. That gives me plenty of time to kind of come to grips and comes to terms with the fact that I'm making changes, things are getting better. But I can't put myself under pressure to be like people like Christian Bale who've put weight on for a role and then it's come straight back off again. I've spent 20 to 28 years laying down fat cells and reprogramming my body to think, well, you know what, every year your baseline is slightly higher, because every year I've been overeating, putting more fat on, and every year my body's been saying, you know what, to get to like homeostasis and be nice and healthy, I've got to try and work out what you're doing. And every year it's just been resetting the bar. So every year I've got heavier naturally, and I've eventually had an epiphany and thought, you know what, I need to go on the carnivore diet and get rid of this. Now, I'm sorry if I'm waffling and stuff like that. It's just, you know, I ad-lib all this. But I do think our bodies are far more interesting, and amazing than we actually give it credit for. I think there's so much more to how we work than just calories in, calories out. I don't think that works in any way, shape or form. I think pretty much most of it is hormonal. I think it's I don't know, I think it's quite naive to think that people who are very big and, you know, very fat and stuff have low metabolisms, because that's not true. They don't have slow metabolisms any way, shape or form. The only time you get a slow metabolism really is if you restrict calories on a regular basis. So if your body needs 3,000 calories to survive and you give it 1,500, then you've got 1,500 calories to burn off each day. So your body kind of thinks, well, you know what, I'm like an engine. If I need litres and litres of fuel in there to turn over and get me to my destination, but I've got half the amount of fuel, then I'm just going to have to freewheel half of it or go half the speed. And that's the only way your body can do the calorie restriction and survive. Fasting is obviously very different, because, you know, you're telling it you haven't got a calorie restriction, you're just telling it you haven't got any food that day, so it finds an alternative mechanism to succeed, and that's tapping into your body fat. I don't think that happens within 24 hours though. I think you'd probably be looking at about 48 hours, or 36, 48 hours before it really starts tapping into the body fat and doing the whole lipolysis thing, because you can't tap into lipolysis and burn body fat if you're continually eating. So if you rewire it and say, like, you know, every 36 hours, 48 hours you'll get fed, I think that's pretty much the threshold when it starts going, you know what, things don't seem quite normal here, we're gonna have to start burning some fat. And we've got plenty of it. It's not like we're going to run out of stored energy. We've all got it. I mean, I've got plenty. I know I'm pretty lean round here and round there, but lower down I've got plenty of it, and it's all in the wrong places. At the moment, across my rib cage down to my abdominal area, it's certainly not smooth. It looks like lumpy clumps of body fat, and obviously that's where over the last few months I've been tapping into those reserves, and I've been breaking it down and you know, eking it off, almost like chiseling it off in one, you know. But there's obviously historical fat which I've had there for decades, and it looks horrible at the moment. At the moment, it will sort itself out, I'm pretty sure of that. But at the moment, it's pretty horrible. And when I last went to Seville, there was a swimming pool there and things like that. And whilst I could have been in the swimming pool and getting some sun, I pretty much just wore shorts and a vest whilst I was there, because, well, I didn't like the look of myself, and until I like the look of myself, I'm not really gonna, you know, put anyone under any burden to look at me either. So, but it'll sort itself out, I'm pretty sure of that.